I don't even know. I don't even know how to start this, guys. We are live, Celtics live post game. This team is going to take years off of my life, your life. I don't know. I mean, what are we doing? Up like 1,000,000 points throughout that game. I think it was 24 points, and the Celtics just slowly blow it away. And all of a sudden, we're dealing with, back and forth in the fourth quarter, late in the game, and then we go to overtime and still can't make it happen. It's just so frustrating. This team is literally, in the past, how many weeks you want to look at it, just a 500 ball club. I mean, actually, this season, they're just technically a 500 ball club, right? And it's so frustrating, some of these games that they are losing. I know the Pelicans have gone on hot streaks, and they've been a good team. They have two of the youngest stars in the league. Well, guess what? So do we. But the Celtics should be able to whoop up on a team like the Pelicans if they are as good as we're supposed to think they are. But we will get to the chat. We will get to the stream tonight. We're reacting to it. But before we do, I'm going to ask you guys, if you're watching right now on YouTube, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. We are live after every single Celtics game, whether it's a great win, whether it's a tough loss, or an absolutely infuriating loss like this. We're live here after every single Celtics game, so please subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Periscope, if you're watching on Twitch, get your butt over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel there. But let's get into the box score so we can get into some chat afterwards. All right, so if you missed the game, and you're wondering, why am I freaking out? Why do I sound like a spoiled brat here, just whining about a loss? The Celtics were up big. They ended up losing to the Pelicans, 120-115 in an overtime game. If we look at the box score here, Jason Tatum with 32 points, 41% from the field, 43% from three, 9 rebounds for him. Jaylen Brown with 25, a terrible shooting night for him. Kemba Walker kind of... yikes, 14 points. Tristan Thompson, 14 points. The only bright spot, I'm not even kidding, Tatum 32, we'll call it a bright spot, okay? He made a couple clutch shots, made the game-tying shot with .2 left. We'll give it to Tatum. One huge bright spot, Robert Williams looked like a legitimate, startable NBA big out there. 8 points, 13 rebounds, and I think he has 4 blocks. I think he had like 2 blocks taken away, one at the end, too, with that goaltend. Robert Williams looked pretty legit. He was trusted in overtime, trusted late in the game. That's a bright spot for me, but unfortunately, the bright spots absolutely swarmed and overshadowed by the fact that this team just pissed away a game that, for once, I thought we were going to be sitting here. I thought we were going to sit here on a Sunday, Let's get comfy. Let's watch the Celtics finally blow out a team on a Sunday and let us enjoy the end of our weekend. But no, they won't let it happen. They won't let it happen. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. We have so many comments to catch up on. Let's get to the chat. If you guys are new here, again, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're watching on Periscope or Twitch, get your butt over to YouTube. Subscribe there. We read all the chat. Chief says, what the actual fuck? That is a great way to put it. If I didn't have to rant and start the stream and get my take out there, that's how I would just start it. But that is just, it was terrible. Isaiah says, fire Brad. I mean, honestly, I don't want anyone being like, oh, well, the players have to play. Guess what? You know who can prevent your team from going down or, blowing a 24, 25, whatever it was, point lead? Your coach. And then they have the ESPN ABC has the audacity to put Brad Stevens mic'd up in a timeout. And he's like, hey, guys, stay in the moment, okay? Dude, don't stay in the moment. The moment is you getting whooped right now. You're losing, you're winning, you're losing every single possession, and Brad Stevens wants his team to stay in that moment? No, get your ass out of that moment, and let's flip it around. It was nuts. Oh my God. Chief says Kemba actually can't hit a shot to save his life. Yeah, Kemba was tough. So bad down the stretch. Now, I will say, I think we can't blame Kemba for blowing a 24-point lead. You know what I mean? Like, the Celtics had everything go wrong. But for him to have 14 points, miss clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot, yikes. Steven says, this is pathetic. Abdul saying, maybe it's time to fire Brad now. I know I'm going to get hate for saying this, but I blame so much of this on Brad Stevens. That entire time, guys, the Pelicans were coming back over and over again, making a stop and then scoring, making a stop and then scoring. Guess how many timeouts Brad Stevens used? You see? 0. I'm like, call a timeout. You're blowing a 24-point lead. Call a timeout. He called it after 21 points had been blown away, and there was a 3-point game or something. So frustrating. Greg says, we're all the Kemba lovers tonight. Guys, misses more open shots than I have ever seen in my life. Mike says, Brad Stevens is a joke. It was not a good Brad night, and you guys could tell. He's got me red. He's got me fired up. At least I look good in the Teddy Celtic merch tonight, right? At least I look good doing that, but yikes, what a bad night. Kevin says they deserve to lose this game with that putrid second half showing. Yeah, that was weird, too. Like, imagine they win this overtime game, and I hop on the stream. It's like, hey, we got a Sunday win. Like, they pulled it out. They didn't deserve that crap. Gear says, I don't want to see anyone blaming the refs. This one is on the Celtics, 100%. I mean, the Pelicans did get hot and come back, so, like, the Pelicans won it, but the Celtics did their damn surest to lose that game, too, you know? Wongy says, nothing new here. Donovan says, why can't we close games? That is a great question, my friend. Steven says, Kemba and Brad were absolutely terrible. Jaylen Brown wasn't good. This is just pathetic. I can't believe it. Yeah, this is, and again, you'd love to come on here, being me, and be like, hey, they fought. They went to overtime, back and forth. You know, they contended at the end. But then, you know, you look back in the previous chapters of the book, and you're like, wait, chapter 3, they had a 24-point lead? Who cares about the fact that it was going back and forth, and they fought at the end of the game? You lost the game when you let up the blowout. J-Max saying, what did I just walk? Kevin saying, I hate this team. J-Max saying, this one's on Brad. A lot of it has to be on Brad. You know, a portion has to be on Kemba. A portion can fall on us saying, you know, Marcus Smart's not there, and he clearly means a lot to this team. And also just effort from the guys blowing the lead. But I just can't stand the people saying this one has nothing to do with Brad. And there's going to be those people on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be people on Twitter being like, it wasn't Brad's fault. The players have to play. The players have to play, and the coach has to coach. Shocker there. Jay Caesar said, great coach we have there. Love Lonzo Ball. Isaiah says, I'm like 60 years old thanks to this team. OAB says, Brad and Kemba. That has to be where the majority of this blame is on those two tonight. Birkin says, Time Lord is real. I mean, honestly, he is the only bright spot. And again, Jason Tatum, 32 points, 40% from the field, 43% like from three. It's great. I'll take 32 and 9 from Jason Tatum all day long. But it's almost like you can't even say he exceeded or overwhelmed. Like Jason Tatum, that he's capable of doing this game in and game out. He didn't go off. So it's a bright spot that he did that he was able to keep them in it. But the only true like silver lining, like holy crap, what a good sign is Robert Williams. J-Max says, Brad is to blame. I don't care what anyone says. Donald saying, tough L, man. J-Max saying, Rob is a god. AD says, that was the most painful thing ever witnessed. Matthew says, shows how much Marcus Smart means to this team. It does. I think I mentioned it a couple, minutes ago. There is no coincidence, guys, that Marcus Smart being out and this terrible, and I mean terrible, stretch of basketball just coincide. That is not a coincidence. That is just absolutely, 2 + 2 = 4. 100%. You just can't deny it. You can't watch what you've seen, and Kemba's been in and out of the lineup. Jalen had to miss a game, that type of thing. Marcus Smart is the constant that he's been out equals bad basketball. It's crazy. It is so infuriating because, this team's built to be better than Marcus Smart, in my opinion. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, All-Stars, Kemba Walker, All-Star last year. They're built to be better than, Marcus Smart's out. Let's chalk the rest of the season while he's out. That's frustrating to me. All right, we're still getting up on comments here. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I see a lot of new names in here commenting tonight, which unfortunately it comes at a loss, and that is probably why we got new people in here for the vent session. That is when we do our best work. The OGs of the stream, you guys know we do our best work when we can all bitch and moan together. But if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're not watching on YouTube, head over to YouTube. I just tweeted out the link at FGuyBoston and subscribe there. But let's keep catching up on comments. We got a lot to catch up on here. CS says Kemba was brutal late and all OT, missed an open late 4. He missed a few late threes, but I know the one you're talking about. Open late 3 and a couple in OT that would have almost ended it. Yeah, I mean, and I thought they were going in. And you know what? And you guys know I love Kemba. I defend him. I can't defend him tonight, obviously, but it drives me nuts to see him miss a 3 and then smile. I know he's a great guy. I know he's a sportsmanship guy, but screw that. You missed a 3. I don't want to see you smiling down the court. Jay says, you see Alonzo Ball impacts the game more than just scoring. Yeah, Jay, I mean, I never thought Lonzo Ball really impacted the game scoring. I think he always has been that sort of pass first type of guy. I just don't think Lonzo Ball is that. Okay, this goes back to, Jay, you said multiple times Lonzo Ball to the Celtics type of thing. You flip-flop Lonzo Ball and Kemba Walker tonight, I don't know if that game goes anyway. Like, the Celtics, Kemba Walker wasn't the reason the Celtics blew the 24-point lead. Could he have been the reason they maybe won? Yeah. But this loss is on Brad. It's on Kemba. It's on a lot of guys. It wasn't like, oh, Kemba Walker had 14 points. That's why they lost. If this is a back-and-forth game all game long, sure, maybe we could say Kemba Walker screwed them. But the fact that they were up 24 without Kemba Walker having a good game is kind of like, he just didn't show up when it came down to the end of it. But they blew that lead as a unit, which is ridiculous. Steven says, this team is just poor. Happened in the playoffs last year. Blow multiple 12 to 20-point leads. Makes me feel like it's on Brad. That's what I think. And again, we heard the mic'd up, and he's like, stay in the moment, guys. You got this. It's like, and then they show Stan Van Gundy. And he's like, come on. You want to win this? Play with your heart. I'm like, whoa, that's a coach. Slum says, this one hurts. Gear says, everybody click the bell so you get notified of the stream after every game. Yeah, guys, if you are on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that bell notification. We're live here, after every single Celtics game. We have a pregame show, too, and we're posting more and more videos. My podcast goes up on this channel, so there's more than just these streams. But this stream alone makes it worth the subscription. These guys in the chat, the OGs, will let you know that. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Sergio says, pain. Noon says, we did a lot of bad things, but damn that officiating. I don't know, man. There was a couple calls that went, ridiculous ways and stuff, but I'll tell you what. Refs do not blow 24-point lead. 10-point leads, 8-point leads. Maybe you could say the refs screwed it, but the Celtics did. You cannot say the refs blew a 24-point lead. I'm not saying you're saying that, News. I know what you're saying. A lot of bad things happened. I'm not saying the refs are great either, but the Celtics could have. Oh, it's so frustrating. Kevin says, ruined my Sunday. I know, it's terrible. We thought we were going to kick back, relax, and watch this Celtics game, and then Steven says, by the way, I don't want to hear anyone ever say Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum should have guarded Ingram, and Rob should have been there in the whole game. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it too. Jason Tatum's better than Jaylen Brown, right? It's been a debate at the beginning of the year and stuff, but and this isn't to slight Jaylen Brown at the least, but Jason Tatum's the one, Jaylen Brown's the two. Jaylen Brown any given night can be the one, I'll give him that, but I mean, come on, who's the ball going to in those crutch times? So yeah. J-Mac says, guys, this getting real when one of the most loyal fans can barely watch anymore. Yeah, it's getting real. This is real. We're 30-plus games into the year of a 70, game season. This is pretty real. Let's see. Mustafa saying, get Kemba out of Boston. Steven says, this team is just poor. Happened in the playoffs. We read that already. Kellen saying, Kemba needs to go, period. Loved how Lonzo played today. I'm going after him. Jay says, Brad Stevens is the coach people want to hold on to. So hold on. Let me say this about Kemba before we get into Brad. Kemba Walker, I get it. The big game, he stunk. He just had 28 points the night before. You know what I mean? So it's like he's just not consistent yet. And I agree with you guys. You're paying him to be consistent. We don't have this time to just slow play Kemba Walker. It's not like he's a young, spry chicken or anything like that. He should be able to, from the word go, be good to go. And he isn't yet. But, I mean, just had 28 points against the Hawks, albeit. So, we can say that was one of the worst defenses in the league. But, like, it's not like he's parlaying a 9-point night with a 14 terrible night tonight. But I agree. I think that Kemba Walker, a lot of this blame should be on him because even though I say, a 24-point lead isn't blown by Kemba Walker, they could probably, some of his missed shots be in the win column tonight if he hit a couple of them. Not even if. They probably would be. CS says that Rob Williams' block on Zylan was called a goaltend was tough. Yeah. Let's see. Isaiah saying, get Brad out of Boston. Birkin saying, Time Lord. Ubi saying, Kemba tries to play hero ball. A couple times he did. And I was like, what are you doing? This goes against everything you've said, Kemba. You say, I want Jason Tatum and I want Jaylen Brown to be the guys, right? And then Kemba took off screen a couple times, a couple threes. And I'm like, dude, these are must-make possessions, and that's the shot we get. Didn't like it. Jay says Lonzo is legit. I think Lonzo is legit. I don't think this is a tough time for me to say that, right? I don't think Lonzo Ball is better than Kemba Walker right now. But, it's a tough game to say that, so I don't even know how much I want to die on that hill. Ubi says Robert Williams was the map of the game, MVP of the game. Yeah. Isaiah says he got out-coached again. Embarrassing. Funny. Fuzzy says, Ubi says Neesmith played well. He was, yeah. Slubben says Kemba is out if I'm Ainge. Matthew says and okay, let me go back to Kemba too. And I've said on the stream before, Kemba isn't untouchable to me. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are the only two untouchable guys. Marcus Smart's more untouchable than Kemba Walker to me. I just don't think a Kemba Walker for Lonzo Ball flip makes this team a championship contender. So I know, and that's really applicable now that we're watching Lonzo Ball and Kemba Walker play against each other. So when I'm talking about, Kemba, we can't trade him, but I'm not saying we can't trade Kemba. But with the trade in mind that it's Lonzo Ball for Kemba, it's like, I don't know if this team gets that much better doing it. Could Kemba Walker be included in a trade that I feel makes this team way better? 100%. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then even Marcus Smart's ahead of Kemba on the untouchable list. Matthew saying we need Smart back. Jason says we are who we are, playing a play-in team for the playoffs. Raptors might win tonight and put us ahead of Boston. Bergen says Jaylen is passing up so many easy mid-ranges. Ubi says I don't think the Celtics have won any early start games. I thought we had it tonight. I thought we were going to kick backs, relax, and watch that 3:30 to whatever time it is now win enjoyably. Nope. My heart rate is like through the roof. I'm fired up. I was probably so red at the beginning of the stream, to be honest, but it's tough. Gear says that, well, at least we got the Bruins later. CS says that goaltend was a huge call. Close, that looked like a good block. It was. I think it was 100% a good block. I know it was close, but I don't think, if you watch that, I only saw the replay twice, and I was sold that it wasn't, So I think that was a block. Let's see. Ubi says, but then again, they haven't won at all. LOL. Yeah, you're saying they haven't won early start games. It's like, well, they've also lost half their games from normal starts as well. Slum says, what is he streaming on? I am on Periscope and YouTube and Twitch as well. No Cap says, dumbass Brad let them go on a run. He wouldn't call a timeout. It's like he was in space. That was my thing. I said it a few minutes ago on the stream, right? If anyone didn't notice that, I don't know what game you were watching, but this team is crawling back, and Brad Stevens didn't even take a timeout. Not halfway through it, not a quarter way through it. He called it when the comeback was done. It was infuriating. J-Max is 100% on Brad. Matthew said we need Smart back. D-Money says smash my PS5 controller to pieces. J-Max is wizard my ass. Genesis, I'm sorry, but Kemba was awful. He was awful. I admit that. No one has to apologize for Kemba Walker being awful tonight. Kemba Walker has to apologize. Kemba Walker can probably win the Celtics that game, but I don't think Kemba Walker lost the Celtics that game. When I'm saying, winning it, being that overtime fourth quarter, those shots he was taking, the loss was on Brad Stevens in the middle of that game. So I feel like Brad's to blame. How about this? How about I make a deal with you guys? Brad's to blame for the chunk of the game, right? Blowing the lead, this team just coming out flat, getting so complacent. Brad's to blame there. Kemba Walker's to blame late game. Because the Celtics did everything they could at the end of the game to win, with the one caveat saying, Kemba Walker, you missed every single shot you tried to take. So that's how I'm phrasing it. Taj says, if Rob doesn't start after this game, I'm not watching until Romeo comes back. Robert Williams is just earning minutes. He's still, even with all that playing time at the end, played 8 minutes less than Tristan Thompson. Almost 9 minutes less than Tristan Thompson. 17 less than Tice. And by what I saw, Robert Williams was by far and away the best big man for the Celtics tonight. He's only going to get better by playing. I don't know why Brad's, saving him on the bench here. Drives me nuts. News says, who blocked Zion twice? Time Lord. Jacob said this one hurt. It really did. Matthew says Kemba for Westbrook. Who says no? I don't know if I'd take. I don't think I would trade him for Westbrook. But I don't even know if either one of those would move the needle. I think Westbrook on this team would make them just as good / bad, however you want to look at it, as they are right now. Maybe he's a little bit better defensively, obviously. So maybe you have an upgrade there. Jacob says this team blows leads. This team blows leads like this are poorly coached teams. That's facts. It is. No team blows leads like this. It's not the players' effort or the players stop trying. I've had enough of that bull. A coach can look a player in the eyes and say, hey, don't blow this lead. And all of a sudden the player has it in the back of his head. Let's not get complacent. What I see out there is the Celtics jump off to a lead and Brad Stevens is like, okay, all right, let's do it. It's like, no kidding, these players are going to get, lost in the shuffle and all of a sudden just the team's back in it. J-Mac says Brad has no clue what momentum is. Jenna says, who else could coach a team if we fire Brad Stevens? That is the thing, guys. I have not once said fire Brad Stevens, right? You guys are saying that. You can't fire Brad Stevens if you don't have a better coach in mind. You don't just fire Brad Stevens because he's an above-average coach. He is. No matter if he frustrates us or not, you don't fire him and then say, okay, now you know what's in our hands. What are we going to do now? You can't do that. You got to have a plan in mind, and I don't think that the move right now is fire him. I think the move right now is say, hey, Brad, you're not here forever. We could do what we want with you. You're not like this young prodigy that everyone thinks you are anymore. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. And I've said it all along. If you're new in the streams, my biggest Brad Stevens take is we hold Jason Tatum accountable. We hold Jaylen Brown accountable to get better. Every single game, every single month, every single year, we hold them accountable to get better. Why is it frowned upon for me to say, hey, this superstar coach that we have, I want him to get better too. He's, such a brain in this league. Why can't he get better? He's the same coach he has been, and that's a problem. So I don't want to fire Brad Stevens, but can I ask him to get better? That sounds fair to me. News says Celtics would make terrible porn stars can't finish. Jay says Brad Stevens led teams are known for blowing third and fourth quarter leads. Matthew says trade Kemba for Westbrook. Jay says get Lonzo Ball. He impacts the game way more than just scoring. That's defense. Panda saying fire. Brad. Ubi saying Jalen hasn't looked the same since they announced the knee tendonitis. I think we need to start resting him soon. Panda says Kemba for Russ. So there is a lot of Kemba for Russ in here, huh? Hey. If there's... I don't love Westbrook, but the way Kemba's been inconsistent, I don't love that either. So it seems like a lot of you guys are on board for that. Kevin says, classic Celtics choke job. Tune in next episode for the same thing. Yeah, what you guys don't realize is I just record these streams, hours in advance, and I just play it after the game because it's so predictable. Celtics go up 20, blow the lead, and lose. It's crazy this season. Panda said, fire Brad. Dean says, Jaylen Brown stunk on both ends of the court. He was, for a guy that we pat on the back and, crowned king of efficiency, he's been kind of tough. It's been tough. Matthew says 1 of 12 for threes from Kemba. Dude is washed. It was not the best look, especially because 3 or 4 of those threes were must-make crunch time threes. Panda says it's 50 in Germany and I have school tomorrow and I thought I'd come on to watch the game. It's unbelievable. I appreciate you tuning in from Germany. Terrible circumstances, the fact that Celtics just got slapped. Greg says Jaylen Brown was awful. He was. So the blame game goes around. Kemba, Jaylen, Brad, it's everywhere. Panda says Tice was awful. Yeah, and the fact that he played, almost 20 more minutes than Time Lord, who was unbelievable. Dean says this team doesn't have it. If you can't close out a bad Pels team, they were struggling coming in. Brad, bad freaking hero ball in the third quarter. Abdul says, man, I'm so mad. Mr. K says every time we end the game with an unused challenge, thanks to Brad, you have to finish a beer. Wongi saying Kemba. Steven Taylor says he was horrible. I'm more upset about his defense than his offense. We keep giving him a pass. I don't know. No one talks about how bad he is defensively, and I love Jaylen. And the thing is, too, it's annoying. People crown Jaylen Brown how good he is at defense, right? Jaylen Brown is his defense, I guess at least we can give him the sort of safe, the safety net of since his tendonitis, I'll say, his defense is nowhere to be found. And he hasn't played well on offense as well as he was at least at the beginning of the year. Jaylen Brown's regressed a little bit, but that's fine. He regressed from all-time God level right now to sort of a little bit lower than what I probably think he's going to finish the year at. I always say he's not going to finish the season averaging 27 points. I'd rather Jaylen Brown be involved, 5 less points, but way involved on the defensive end and whatnot. So, and we're not seeing that right now. We're seeing a guy that is struggling everywhere. Tommy said, this is on Brad, piss poor coaching. Aiden needs to make moves ASAP. Time Lord needs to start. If you're a 500 ball club right now, why don't you just start Time Lord, right? I want to know the reasoning behind, we're not going to start Robert Williams. That's BS in my mind. He has done more good than bad this season, correct? So why not start him? It's not like he's out there making a bonehead chicken with his head cut off play anymore. He's not. He used to be, and that could be the defense of, he's really athletic, but he stinks when it comes to even thinking about the game. He really doesn't do that anymore. And there's a lot of guys that do play around this league that do that, and still, their reward outweighs the risk, I guess you could say. Wong says Kemba might have been traded by now if Smart was healthy. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. At least the talks of Kemba, you know what I mean? They don't want to lose leverage either. So no one's gonna say Brad Stevens, Danny Ainge is gonna say Kemba Walker's on the block because they want people to think Kemba Walker is a staple to this team, which he may be, but the fact that they're thin at guard, you're probably right there. I don't know about would have been traded, but you probably would have heard a little bit more of a hot seat for Kemba if Smart was healthy. Steven says Kemba, no caps laughing. No caps says exactly that loss pisses me off. Sam says when he smiled, is him releasing a scam dust for $30 million. Guys, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit in the chats because I'm way behind here. Obi says, if we traded for Westbrook, I'll become a Lakers fan. Westbrook's late game IQ is god-awful. Yeah, I'm surprised a lot of people were in on this Kemba for Westbrook. I think the team doesn't get any better doing that trade. There's things Westbrook's better at than Kemba. There's things Kemba's better at than Westbrook, 100%. Kellen says, when was the last time we were up 20 and held it and actually won by 20? I don't know. It's probably not under Brad Stevens. I feel like I almost fear going up by 20 plus because it almost guarantees we're in this position after the game talking about a loss, a blown lead loss. It's like, what the Celtics should just keep the game close every game. Like, oh, we don't want to go too much. Get to 19, start missing shots on purpose, because the minute they go up 20, it's almost a guaranteed loss. They punch their ticket, and it's ridiculous. Let's see. MF says, when has Brad Stevens ever showed to be an above-average coach? I'll tell you this. The one thing Brad Stevens does well is does a lot with a little, right? But when it's like he has all his guys and stuff, he stinks. When Brad Stevens is put up to a task of, no Jalen, no Kemba, just Tatum, all this, all of a sudden he starts making the most of what he has. But you don't want a coach that can make, dog shit smell like water, right? You want a guy that can take a golden whatever prize and look like a golden prize. He has the tools. He doesn't have a great team, but he has a way better team than the team that's performing. Right? As long as Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are healthy, they should be able to beat teams like the Wizards or the Knicks, or what are there some bad losses that we've had? The Hawks, or hey, the Pelicans. So it's like, I don't want a coach at this point to make the most of what he has. No, I want a coach to freaking kill it if he has everything. And we don't see that. So Brad Stevens hasn't really walked the walk, in my opinion. He hasn't talked the talk, but the talk has been talked about him. And it's time for him to just step up, and I don't see it. I don't. But again, I don't think you get rid of him until you get another coach. Like, that's stupid to just trade him or to fire him without having a backup plan. And I want everyone that thinks fire Brad Stevens is the move, think of it like that. This team has been Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals. Are you really ready to fire Brad? Take the chance that you get a coach that sucks even more, and then this team just isn't even a playoff team, and now you're wasting great years of the Jays. Like, it's a tough decision to say, fire Brad, we don't know what we're going to do next. But I give you credit. If you can stomach the idea of, hey, fire Brad Stevens, and we'll figure it out, I give you credit, because you could sleep at night way better than me. Because then you're just like, whatever, just get the dead weight out of here, and then we'll cross that bridge. Me, I'm like 10 steps ahead, being like, oh my God, we're going to be screwed. But props to you if you can think that. Andrew L says, I can coach better from my couch than Brad has been this year. He just hasn't gotten better. I say it over and over. You guys are in the stream every night. No, I say it over and over again. Brad Stevens is, I think above average coach, but the comment that just called that out from MS is probably a good call. Like, where has he shown that? I think he's an above average coach, but why can't I ask him to get better? Why do I tweet that out and, I get subtweeted by other Celtics accounts or Celtics bloggers or something and get ripped for being like, oh, Brad Stevens isn't the problem by Twitter accounts and other Celtics personnel? Why can't I ask the coach to get better? That's bull. A coach isn't the same. He shouldn't be the same coach in year 1 as he is in year 8. If you believe that, then you just don't know what you're talking about, because a coach can 1,000,000% get better. And he's been outcoached so many times this year by guys like Stan Van Gundy, who's a fine, good, one of the better coaches, I guess, in this past, 20 years or so. But Brad Stevens, the way people talk about him, the way people hold him to this regard, he should be wiping the floor with Stan Van Gundy. The guy was out of... it drives me nuts. Kevin says we don't need to fire Brad Stevens, just burn his playbook. Nis says we need Brad out of here. Mama's saying Terry Rozier looking better than Kemba. We talked about that, right? How many? We talked about that a couple streams ago, and I posed, would this team be better with Terry Rozier versus Kemba Walker? And I don't know, because I think Terry Rozier is like a me first. I love Terry Rozier, by the way, disclaimer. But I think he is a me first player, and I don't know how that would mesh with the Jays or the Jays just in general. But Terry Rozier seems to have the clutch gene, and he is stepping up to the plate over in Charlotte. Kellen says, Grant Teague didn't even play, and we still lost. I know, that's usually the recipe to success. Sit Grant Williams' ass on the bench. Make sure Jeff Teague is far, far away from the court, and we're good. Not tonight. Andrew says, no way Kemba for Westbrook. Yeah, I don't think I'd do it either. Zach says, I would trade Kemba for 2 vets that would help the bench. If he plays like this, if you get this Kemba, there's no reason to have him. If you get 28 points in a game like you did last game, Kemba, then we're talking crazy here, right? And that's the issue, that it's an inconsistent Kemba that we have. My issue with Kemba isn't the 14 points tonight. It's that he had 28 last night and now has 14. Right when he's like, turn the corner. Brad Stevens said it. He's back. Really, really, Brad. That guy's back because he had half the amount of points, probably missed 10 times the amount of shots. We need the consistency, but we gotta check ourselves if we're just ripping Kemba a new one, because he did just 2 nights ago have near 30 points. It's tough. AD says Russ would make our team worse. He's not a winner. Steven says I disagree. I don't think we hold JB accountable, but I always say this is, I said it about Tatum. I hold the team to highest standard because I see them both as top 20. Yeah, I feel like I even get caught with that too, Jaylen Brown, right? He has an off night, and I'm kind of like, well, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas this year, we're supposed to be relying on a guy. He is the number 2 option by far and away. We're supposed to be relying on him, and I give him passes for having, almost under 30% from the field nights. So you're probably right there. Jay says, Brad Stevens' teams are known for blowing third and fourth. Mom is saying Celtics are trash. Jay says, Jaylen, since that knee report came out, has been so inconsistent. News says, I thought Brad's biggest mistake during the run was keeping Rob on the bench when Ingram and Zion were just driving over and over. Does he know his personnel? Clearly not. Jay says, Brad starts at the top. You're up 24. Brad, it starts at the top. You're up 24. If you're a great coach, you finish it. Panda says, what about Kemba for Sexton? See, now you're talking, because that is the only light that even Jay brings up all the time with Lonzo Ball. I love the idea of you getting a guy that isn't just a fresh rookie type of guy, but he's younger and he's going to be here longer, right? So I don't know if, as of right now, Sexton's truly better than Kemba, but I think come 2 years' time he is, so that's interesting. Let's see. Nick says, everyone needs to make smarter shots. That's the issue. Yeah, they need to take smarter shots too, right? I know we're missing the shots, but Kemba, those last 3 threes, it's you're trying. Kemba, it's almost like he knows people are ragging on him for the game he has, right? In this stream. And he's like, oh boy, I got to make this one. I'm going to make a huge shot here. And he clanks it. And then he smiles. Greg says, Panda, Cavs would never do that. That's the thing. That's what I think too. I think I would be so on board trading Kemba for a younger guy that's on the up and up. But why would a team do that unless, for the example, the Cavs are Sexton, we don't want him here long term. He's been a punk, that type of thing. Abdul says, man, versus Miami, it was the same stuff. They were up by 18, 20 points. We finished blowing out all the leads. I'm tired of Brad. So let me say this, and again, I'm not on the Brad Stevens train, but what would shake the team up more? Trading Kemba for Lonzo Ball or just getting a new coach? I think the coach. So if people want to shake up, I don't think you say, okay, let's take away the guy that was the all-star last year. You take away the guy that's the coach probably is the most, I was going to say he's the most replaceable guy, but I feel like that probably isn't the case either. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I was ready to make the argument that, if you really wanted the biggest shakeup, you go to the coach, but you take away one of your stars and move him for someone else. It's a big shakeup too. This team needs a shakeup. Or this team needs something. You know what I mean? This team isn't going to do one. This team may just fall out of the playoff race. It's crazy. Gear says, I'm not saying trade for Westbrook, but on a bad night, he brings more. Not a bad point. Kemba Walker, what does he do? He scores. End of story, right? Russell Westbrook at least is involved in the game. He pushes the ball, all this stuff. He is involved in the game. Even on a bad night, he's doing more. He's playing better defense. He's rebounding. But still, I'm not on the Westbrook train. I think that you might be creating more issues here. Steven says, Panda, that won't ever happen, but I wish. Zach says, we need a playmaking point guard and vets off the bench with Peyton and Semi. Can't disagree with that. Panda says, I really want to know what Danny Ainge is doing the whole day. Abdul says, I miss Terry. Sam's agreeing. OAB says, same. I even miss Hayward. I know. How great is Charlotte, huh? They get Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. I just wish the Celtics could have guys like those. Those guys seem like great basketball players. Why can't we have nice things like that? Oh, we did. Jeez. Breaking news. Oh, it drives me nuts. Steven says, what's up with these rotations Brad throws out there? I understand Smart's out, but in the third, Tatum's getting doubled because no one else was a real threat at some point. Brown at least should have come in. That's the weird thing, too. It's right. It's there goes times when this team, take Kemba Walker out of it tonight because he was playing terrible. This team had 2 guys that could score tonight. And you're telling me there was extended period of times when either of them or, one of them wasn't on the floor. It's put him in. Put him in the game. That's what you got to do. Now, they both did play 40-plus minutes. So it's they played enough, but it's the timing of it all. You know what I mean? It's not like Brad Stevens isn't playing Jason Tatum or isn't playing Jaylen Brown, but it's when they're not playing that I have an issue with. Abdul says Brad is soft. Andrew says Van Gundy is horrible too, man. That's the point. And he outcoached Brad. That's the tough one. Steph says, are we better off with the Jays or Rozier plus Hayward? Honest right now. I don't know. I think the Jays, but I hear you as of late. News says Eric Spoelstra is a great example of a coach who has improved the years gone on. That is a great example. And the only coach, I always say this too, to almost to lift up Eric Spoelstra in the eyes of people. Name another coach that just survived LeBron and said, nope, this is my team. LeBron didn't come over, take over the franchise, get the coach fired, get a no-name coach. That's almost Eric Spoelstra's biggest feat It really is. He's the only coach that like truly survived LeBron. It's crazy. Guys, again, if you're watching, I see a lot of new names in here tonight. I really, really appreciate the new names, the new clicks. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. And if you're watching on Periscope or Twitch, make sure you come over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Ubi says, I think Terry, to me, is a first player now, but I think the Jays, he played well with them. He did. Like, and again, I like Terry Rozier. I think Terry Rozier has the ability to be a true point guard, especially with today's NBA. A lot of these guys are, like, you know, some of the best in the business are scoring point guards, too, that just have the ability to pass. So I think Terry would be better and better. Gear says, I would rather have Rozier and we paid a wing. Panda says, the things I learned from this game, never celebrate too early. Time Lord is the best center we have. Brad should go with Kemba and Tice. Think about how that would shake up the team. Tice is, because that's the one thing about people saying trade for a big that I always go back to and say, I don't know about it, because now you're taking minutes away from one of these bigs, and I have a feeling it's going to be Robert Williams, and tonight Robert Williams proved why he shouldn't get minutes taken away, right? So I always have trouble being like, you know, what happens if they bring in another big? Does it create a bigger logjam? Because Tice has shown he's worth playing. I know he had a tough night tonight, but he's worth playing. Tristan Thompson, I think, is underrated. I think he's done a lot for this team, you know, other than the people that expected him to drop like 20 and 20 every single night. But, you know, not 14 and 9 from him. He played well. But all of a sudden, you have to cut minutes somewhere, and is it going to be Robert Williams at 20 minutes? Because I don't want him to lose minutes. Mr. K says, I can't stand Westbrook, but I would pull the trigger, Westbrook for Kemba in a heartbeat. OAB says, but we really should have kept Rozier instead of Kemba and kept Hayward. Yeah, that's the thing. We talked about a couple streams ago. I'm like, does Terry Rozier now prove that, one, he's worth the money he's getting there? I was like, he got his bag, great. I've always loved Terry. You could find the old tweets. I've loved Terry. But, I mean, now he's just like a player that's playing like he's being paid, which is not what Kemba's doing. And he's younger. He had chemistry with the Jays. I don't know. I think so. Sam says trade for Vucevic and Terrence Ross. See, that's Vucevic is at the top of my list, and I know I'm contradicting myself. I just said if we trade for a big man, what happens to Robert Williams? I think Vucevic, you know, replaces everything that Tice does. He can do anything better than Tice. So that's where I would hope. I would hope Brad would see, okay, Vucevic is just an absolute upgrade over Tice. And then Robert Williams can still get minutes. I don't know, though. It's still like what happens when you trade for a big man here? A few more comments here, guys, and then I think we're going to hit the road, but we'll take a few more. Andrew says, no scoring off the bench has doomed them from the last bunch of years. Ainge isn't getting the right veteran pieces, and he's getting two. Now it's happened for too long, right? Now it's like Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown are ready to play. Like, they are ready to be here. This isn't a great example of Jaylen Brown tonight, but, you know, it is, because Jaylen Brown, a bad night tonight, had 25 points. When in his career in other years have a bad Jaylen Brown night been 20-plus points? Like, as you want to look at the shooting, I give you that, but the Jays still combined for 57 points tonight. You know what I mean? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are ready, and Danny Ainge, if he doesn't make a move, he doesn't do something, it's almost telling them, yeah, guys, just sit pat, you know, stay pat for now, we're fine. It's like, no, I know we're young, I know we have a few years until we hit our prime, but how about you show us some, like, support here? And that's one of my biggest fears. Not biggest fears, it sounds stupid, but it is like, is Jason Tatum and then also Jaylen Brown going to start to sour if this team just keeps playing like this? I thought I loved it here because, you know, it's like we were contenders, we were all so good, had a great coach. If none of that's working, what's the thing keeping Jason Tatum in Boston? What's the thing keeping Jaylen Brown in Boston? Now that is scary to think about. I'm not going to make too much of it, but after he missed all those shots, he seemed happy. He really should be pissed off. Yeah, I don't like that about Kemba. Love the smile, sure, but smile when you do something good. Greg says, how would you say Westbrook isn't a winner, but Kemba is? What did he do? I don't think I said that, but I see it in the chat. What did he do in Charlotte for his whole career there? Westbrook has been in the finals too, so I don't get that argument. I just read the comment. I don't think Kemba's a winner any more than Westbrook. I don't think Westbrook's really that big of a winner either, so I'm disagreeing with you there. Like, he's been to a finals, like, nice. That makes everyone on the team a winner, I guess. But I don't think Kemba Walker's a better winner. Like, what is, to your point, Greg, what's Kemba Walker done? He hit a huge shot in college to prove that he's a winner versus Westbrook. I don't think that's fair. I don't think either of them are winners necessarily. Kemba for Derrick Rose. I mean, I wish we got Derrick Rose. The asking price wasn't that much, and now he's playing well in the Knicks. Connor says, if they offered Kemba for Sexton straight up to Cleveland, would laugh and hang up the phone. Andrew says, too many times, too many threes should have been attacking the rim. Kellen says, y'all think the players lost trust in Brad? Because that worries me. I think that's a strong possibility. Strong possibility. Nick says, who do you think is a good trade? Who do you think would be a good trade with Kemba? I don't know if like they need to trade Kemba. If we're saying a good trade with Kemba, see, I don't want to trade Kemba. I'd rather give Kemba the time, and if they're going to make a move, upgrade other parts of this team. Like, Kemba Walker isn't the problem of this team. Is he making his, damn sure to not necessarily help them every single night? Yes. But the bench issue is a way bigger issue to me than Kemba Walker. Right now, the way Brad is coaching, that's a bigger issue to me. The rotations is a bigger issue to me. So realistic trade targets, I've said it over and over again. I don't know if you need to rush to use the TP all on one player, but you getting a few veterans, and I don't mean old, walkers out here on their last legs in the league, but a few legitimate bench guys that make you all of a sudden a little bit, have a little bit more depth and guys you can rely on the bench rather than like a Grant Williams, Semi Ojeleye, that type of thing. I think that makes this team a lot better. So I don't know who I would go and, use Kemba as a piece to trade for, but in terms of what I want for this team, I don't think they need to make a huge splash, shake it up, get better, and then this offseason when you want to roll around and use the chunk of the TPE, then you can. But they're like a few pieces away from being way better than they are right now. You get Marcus Smart back, and then you get, a couple bench guys that are 10 times better than the ones you have now. And I think you're looking a little bit better. A lot better, I should say. Brandon saying, you think Danny's going to make some moves after a recent play, or is it yet another season of the same squad? I feel like I want him to make a move because he's saying he's going to make a move. He's saying he's looking for size and scoring, but it's like, I feel like we've heard it before. And he's just going to sit there and do nothing. Kellen says, Mark Jackson intrigues me as a potential new coach. See? So, guys, if you bring a good name to the table, then I can entertain Brad Stevens firing talks because you bring a decent name. I know Chauncey Billups has been brought up. I don't know how much he's shown as a coach, but, other than being an ex-player and a guy that could think the game well, fine. But you can't say Brad Stevens, fire Brad Stevens without having a name in mind because then you're like, oh, what do we do now? Ram says, trade Kemba for D-Rose. Give him an opportunity to play as a contender once he deserves it. Abdul says, Kemba for Tyler Hero, as if the Heat would never do that, though. I'd probably do that, as much as I think Tyler Hero is like a dick and just because he torched us in the playoffs. Like, I hate Tyler Hero, but if he was a Celtic, I'd love it. But they would never do that. Brandon says, can we swap Teague for IT, please? Yeah, I mean, Isaiah should have a job. One of the highlights from one of our previous streams is on the YouTube channel. Check it out. It's like, Isaiah Thomas should have a job, and the guy's balling on Team USA now. The fact that he doesn't have a job just puzzles me. Kellen says there's nobody in the trade markets right now that would help the C's, which is frustrating. Panta says it's one of the best opportunities we have. Steven says whatever trade we do needs to be for center. Tice is probably the man out of rotation, but Thompson is the only center, kinda, and we don't have centers that offer a true position. Michael Jordan over Danny Ainge. I mean, he's in terms of executives right now. He doesn't have the ring, but his young team, like, how fun would it be to be a fan of Charlotte right now? Like Terry Rozier. Graham, Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball. That team is so young. They look fun, but that doesn't just get you rings either. You know what I mean? And Danny Ainge does have a ring. It was I don't know 29 years ago, as I mean even 10 years ago, we'll call it. But he does have the ring. Beantown says Kemba has terrible trade value right now. Yeah, I think he does. Wangi says, what about making Smart starting point guard and signing an elite power forward? I would start Smart. Yeah, I would start Smart. Steven says, season's a wash. Celtics are not winning anything. Maybe we have been overrating this bunch. Probably. Because you know what it is? Every year that we have overrated our players, and I fully admit Celtics fans, we do that. Like, we love Jay Crowder. We love Avery Bradley. Those guys stink. Okay? I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things. They obviously are good for what they are. But, I think we overrate our guys, and this is the first year that we're seeing the guys that we overrate, not even in our own eyes, overachieve. Like, we're seeing what everyone else in the league is seeing with this group. Whereas in years past, we'd see a Jonas Jerebko make a three, and we're like, yeah, let's go, Jonas. And everyone else is like, what, dude, it's Jonas Jerebko. Now it's like if we're watching Jonas Jerebko just miss three after three, and then we're like, we're playing Jonas Jerebko? Wild Jonas Jerebko analogy, but I think it makes sense. Steven says, I love Timler, but he's not a center, which when I say center, I mean Jokic, Embiid, Cat. That's why I do think, like, they don't have anyone over 6'8", right? Or Thompson's listed at 6'9", but I love Robert Williams, the big man, but that's why I do think, if you get rid of Tice's minutes maybe and bring in like a Vucevic, a true big man, then you do have a big. That's why I see the benefit as it. Gian says, I like how you tell it how it is, not like some Celtics Twitter accounts. Yeah, the Brad Stevens, I think, is like my fairest take. I tweet that out. I tweet about Brad Stevens sucking sometimes. Everyone's like, oh, you can't harm him. He's the perfect coach. It's like, bull. I want Brad Stevens to get better. I don't necessarily need to fire him, but I want him to get better with the Jays. I want him to get better with the team as a whole. So, Gian, I appreciate it. Greg says, Boogie Cousins, then trade Tice for a bench score. I would take Boogie. Boogie and PJ for something, I would take that in a heartbeat. Those are two guys that their value isn't as high as, it could be, and that would make the team so much better. Say what you want about if you hate Boogie. It's the same thing as Andre Drummond, right? People don't like the Andre Drummond talk. Well, he's better than a lot of the guys you have, if not all. Steven says, Boogie's intriguing to me. I feel like even he can do what Tice does minus the occasional blocks. Yeah, and he would give this team some balls. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, I'm getting a vibe from Boogie of, like, he wouldn't let a 20. I don't know why, but he would, like, Brad Stevens is sitting there with his arms crossed. Boogie watches this lead start to drain away, and he's like, guys, get your effing heads out of your asses. Let's go. Like, I didn't come to Boston to just be on the Kings again. So I would take Boogie. Let's see. Kentucky fan and Hero is a bitch. Never want that guy in green. I think we think that because of what he did to the Celtics. Like, Tyler Hero's really, really good. He is. Like, Tyler Hero's better than any guy on the bench you have. And I'm not saying he would be a bench player for his whole career, but, like, you're telling me you wouldn't wanted Tyler Hero over Romeo Langford if that one pick fell? Right, News? Let's see. All right, guys, we're taking a few more comments, then we're going to jump off here. But Kellen says, another positive, I think, is how good Neesmith is playing. I love that he's getting minutes. He was a 6-man today. Love that. He's not going to get better by not playing. And finally, Brad Stevens is doing that with someone. Greg says, Dan Greenberg is the worst Celtics Twitter guy. He blames everything else and doesn't blame Steven in the slightest. Yeah, I feel like I've seen him subtweet me plenty over the years, too. And tweet things right after I tweet them suspiciously. But he's the big time, like, oh, it's not Brad Stevens' fault. But even a game like this, he has to admit Brad Stevens has to hold, like, 81% of today's blame, right? No Celtics fan, especially if you cover them for a living, can watch that game and say Brad Stevens gets away squeaky clean. That's bullshit. News says, not my point, Steve, I don't like the guy. If you don't like, that's fair. If you don't like Tyler Hero, then we all don't like players, right? You know what I mean? So that's fair. Long says, the major worry right now is that I don't see any progress in our team playing. Yeah, there's no sign that this team's getting better. Maybe Neesmith and Robert Williams, like, they're being like, oh, yeah, like, that looks good. But from the crucial things, like the coach, from Kemba, from Jaylen Brown, it's little stagnant right now. I don't know. But anyways, guys, we had another loss to talk about. I don't know why I just hit my head, but I think I deserve it, I guess. But another loss to talk about tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the stream. And, somehow we have a good time on the streams, even after BS losses like this. But I will catch you guys in the next stream. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. We keep it real here, just like I think it was who said it earlier on. Gian said it earlier on. We keep it real even here. So, whatever, Celtics loss. We got to get used to. We got to get used to going live with Celtics losses if we haven't gotten used to it already. But we'll catch you guys in the next stream. See ya.